Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream.
Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
New at noon, Attorney General Merrick Garland announced less than an hour ago he is appointing a special counsel in the Hunter Biden probe, deepening the investigation of the president's son ahead of the 2024 election. Garland said he is naming David DeWeese as the special counsel.
David DeWeese?
DeWeese is the U.S. attorney in Delaware who has been probing the financial and business dealings of the president's son.
Do you think she understands the news she reads? Because I do not. I do not, everybody. David DeWeese. David DeWeese is going to be the special counsel. David Weiss. Weiss. Only in Arkansas do they read the word Weiss. Too Jewy? I don't know. It's a Jewy Jew name. David DeWeese. I had to pick her. Okay, because at least she explained what actually just occurred here in these United States of America. Just recently. Just recently. So here is what happened today. A special counsel has been appointed in the Hunter Biden case. Okay. Anybody give a rat's ass? I couldn't care less. I mean, if he did, even more than lie on a gun application for a gun that he kept exactly 11 days, everybody. Oh, my God. How does America continue to be America? How do we continue to be a representative republic? How do we continue to be a democracy? How? How do children go back to school? How? He had a gun for 11 days. Okay, it's illegal. What he did there, illegal. Book him. Book him, Dano. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to give a Hawaii reference because now everybody's going to think of Maui. Yeah. Sad. 55 dead people now. 55. This is like, they're saying it was a freak fire. Just so you know. Okay, just so you know. There's already right-wing conspiracies about what happened in Maui because it was a freakish drought that they had, and then non-native grasses were planted. There's a real story there for anybody who really wants to know it. Like, why did Western Maui catch fire like that? Like, why is Lahaina no more? Why is Lahaina town gone? So there are explanations, for anybody who wants. But no, the right wing decided it's Jewish space lasers. I swear to God, that Jewish developers, I kid you not, literally aimed a high-energy weapon at this portion of Maui because they wanted to incinerate it so they could redevelop it. As far as conspiracy theories go, it's not terrible.
It makes too much sense, Randi.
It's just so anti-Semitic, and of course, that's the way it is. When you look, this is a local Arkansas. She's not even in Bentonville, okay? They're in some real bum f town somewhere in local Arkansas television land. And I just, I was looking for, a little report to open the show with about what had happened. And they're so deep in the discussion on the right wing, TV and on the left wing TV. And then even in the breaking news TV, they're deep in panel discussions about what does this mean for Maga? Will it stop? Is this good for, Hunter? Is it bad for Hunter? Is it good for the congressional hearings? Is it bad for the, you know what I mean? And I couldn't find a report about just, what basically happened in less than 30 seconds to open the show. And I came across local Arkansas TV somewhere way south of Bentonville. Okay, and here she is, everybody, Miss America, who can't read the Jewy Jew name Weiss. Can't read it. Makes no sense. She can't process that. She needs like AI with language skills because she's never seen the name Weiss. She actually, in the teleprompter, they must have typed David Weiss as David D. Wise or something, and she pronounced it David Weiss.
New at noon, Attorney General Merrick Garland announced less than an hour ago he is appointing a special counsel in the Hunter Biden probe, deepening the investigation of the president's son ahead of the 2024 election. Garland said he is naming David DeWeese as the special counsel. DeWeese is the U.S. attorney in Delaware who has been probing the financial and business dealings of the president's son.
David DeWeese, everybody. David DeWeese. I'll just say. So I just wanted to show you, like, basically why we fly over these states. Number one. Sorry. No, but that she really doesn't understand the news she reads, and most of the local news people don't, and that is a big disservice to us as consumers of local news. When we really need to understand national breaking news, but we like our local news because it includes local weather, and those are the stations we turn to. I know that's the truth for us because, hey, listen, I live in Hurricane Alley. Okay, I do. I need to keep my eye on the tropics. Need to watch my local news. Also, my former producer, who was one of my most beloved human beings in the world, Tim Allen Walker, TA, everybody. Anybody remember TA? The guy used to run through the hallways and scream, "Whoopi Goldberg's here! Whoopi!" Do you remember him? So now he is he's like the lifestyle reporter for the local Channel 5 station here. And I have to watch his reports, on turtle nesting because he's hysterical. I mean, he's the only person I know who can make turtle nesting into like something enjoyable to celebrate and watch. So anyway, I like the local news. That's the point. And the other point is Arkansas has never seen a Jew whose name they could pronounce. Just can't happen. So this is the thing. Hunter Biden, as you know, was going to enter into a plea deal that the prosecutor, David Weiss, the U.S. attorney in Delaware, and the defense attorney for Hunter Biden, and Hunter Biden, Chris Clark, and is his lawyer, agreed to enter into. And that would include him pleading guilty to lying on a gun application. And the justice, I guess, that would have been served for that terrible, horrible crime would have been a diversion, like a diversion class about all the things you're not supposed to do with federal documents, or all the things you're supposed to do when you're on crack with, with guns, which would be nothing, if you ask me. I don't know. I don't know what the diversion class includes. I've never had to be diverted from any behavior, okay, except for smoking. I had to be, helped. I needed help. Anyway, he was going to plead guilty to that, and he was going to plead guilty to a misdemeanor tax charge that it wasn't that he didn't pay his taxes, it's that he didn't pay his taxes on time. He did pay his taxes, about $2 million in taxes, which means that they looked at his records. They looked at his bank records. They looked at his IRS filings. They looked at whether or not he had taken in money, bank records and, declarations of income, and decided that he had paid the correct amount of taxes on, monies that he received, but didn't pay them in a timely manner. Okay, so that was the plea deal. The judge, who was a Trump appointee, decided, I'm not done. I want more flesh. I want more than a pound. I want 2 pounds. I want 5 pounds. I want 10 pounds of flesh from this miscreant who's a crackhead, Yes, we know. And she refused to accept the plea deal. Okay, so back to the drawing board they went. And so now, Chris Clark is no longer holding an agreement for Hunter Biden, and the prosecutor, David Weiss, is no longer offering that same agreement. The Republicans decide, hey, let's have hearings, and let's accuse Hunter Biden of being even a bigger criminal. Let's say he's a money launderer, except that can't fly. Do you know why? Do you know why, everybody? Because, obviously, David Weiss has been investigating Hunter Biden for 5 freaking years. And that includes his bank records, because he was charged with a misdemeanor tax crime, which means they agreed that he had paid the proper amount, $2 million worth of taxes, which means he made a lot of money, like $10-15 million, okay? But none of it was laundered because it was obviously seeable. It was obviously learnable. It was obviously discoverable. It was obviously responsive to any inquiries that the prosecutor had about income received. So they wanted a special prosecutor.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, The Randi Rhodes Show.
Okay, let's follow the bouncing ball of Maga. Okay, so this is July 10th. This is about a month ago, almost to the day, where Lindsey Graham appeared on the Faux News news network, the Faux News, whatever network it is. It's not news, it's just garbage. And he was calling for David Weiss to testify before Congress to explain that the whistleblowers that testified in front of the House Oversight Committee told the House committee, Jim Jordan's committee, Comer's committee from Kentucky over there, that brainiac, that David Weiss had told the whistleblowers that he needed special counsel status, but that Merrick Garland refused him. He was refused the favor, see? And he never asked the second favor once you refused the first. See? And so Lindsey Graham went on the TV to say that is ridiculous, that David Weiss said that he needed special counsel status but was prevented from getting it from Merrick Garland. Okay, let's listen.
They claimed that Mr. Weiss, the U.S. attorney from Delaware, sought special counsel status and was denied that status, and that he wanted to bring charges in D.C. and California, but he was told no. Oh. So what did I do? I wrote Mr. Weiss and said, what's the deal here? Did you ask for special counsel status? He told me in the letter he had a discussion about it, but he was sure he could get it if he needed it, and he never really answered the question. The second thing that he said in the letter back to me was he never went to D.C. or California for more serious charges. He was never rebuffed by those jurisdictions.
Okay, so the whistleblowers are telling a story that isn't true, okay? The whistleblowers told Congress a story that they believed that Mr. Weiss requested special counsel status from Merrick Garland and was denied. So Lindsey over here in the Senate, not the House, he writes a letter to Weiss and he says, were you ever denied special counsel status when you needed it? And he said, no, I wasn't. I'm sure I could get it if I needed it. And Lindsey decides that's a non-answer. What? Okay, fine. Then he said, do you need to go to D.C. or California to bring charges there? And David Weiss said he did not need to go outside of the Delaware jurisdiction. But if he had special counsel status, just so you know, because I know, right? I looked it up. If he needed special counsel status to go outside of the jurisdiction of the state of Delaware, special counsel status would have given him the ability to do that and bring charges outside of his jurisdiction, just saying. He said he didn't need to do that, and if he did need to do that, he was sure that he could get permission to do that. He was sure he would never be denied the ability to do that. Okay, then today, all of a sudden, Merrick Garland actually says that David Weiss asked him on Tuesday of this week, for the first time ever, to give him special counsel status. And Merrick Garland says today, I'm giving him special counsel status. He asked me for it, and I'm giving it to him. Because whatever the U.S. attorney needs is what the U.S. attorney will get, right?
An unexpected announcement today by the Attorney General Merrick Garland appointing David Weiss, who has been overseeing this investigation, as a special counsel.
Oh, I thought it was
So as
Dweez.
Garland said, that will allow David Weiss the ability to investigate this independently. It will allow him to investigate anywhere he needs to. There had been questions about venue in this case because he is the U.S. Attorney for Delaware, and some of the conduct or alleged conduct had taken place in other jurisdictions. It's also a bit of a reversal because both Garland and David Weiss had previously said he didn't ask for special counsel status and all the authority that he needed in this case. But now, according to Garland, Weiss asked for that status on Tuesday, and he was granted that. So as Garland said, it will also mean that David Weiss will be providing a report with any prosecution decisions or declinations at the end of this. And this is something that the House Republicans had been raising as a question here because there were IRS whistleblowers who'd come forward saying that some of their investigative efforts were stymied during this multi-year investigation. So it is something that House Republicans have been scrutinizing, and appointing a special counsel could alleviate some of that scrutiny, but it raises a lot of questions.
Scrutiny, the central scrutinizer. Jim Jordan is the central scrutinizer. It's a reference to Joe's Garage. For those of you who are cool and hip, you know that. Okay, just saying. So they appoint a special counsel today. Phew, you would think MAGA would be celebrating, right? This is what they've been screaming and yelling about. This is what they need to calm their nerves. This is what they need to believe that justice is being done. This is what they were asking for. This is what they were requesting. This is what their whistleblowers were telling them was denied by Merrick Garland previously, even though Merrick Garland and David Weiss, unless you're in Arkansas, Dweez, actually, never requested special counsel status because he didn't feel like he had, after 5 years of investigating every nook and cranny of Hunter's crack-addicted life, didn't find any other crimes that were prosecutable that he would need to bring in a different state. So he never needed special counsel status. Well, all of a sudden, Lindsay wrote a letter to Dweez and asked him, why don't you ask for special counsel status? Why don't you? So he did. And it was granted. And now he can bring charges in California if he found anything actionable, if he found anything criminal that Hunter did in California, if he finds anything criminal that Hunter did in D.C. that has to do with, money or laundering it or dirty or whatever, then he could bring charges there, right? He could do that. But that's not, MAGA is unhappy about this. They're livid, I tell you.
I think they're trying to shut down the congressional investigation. To my House colleagues, you've done a wonderful job. I've tried to be helpful. We're not going to let this go. Mr. Weiss, you're not off the hook here. This Friday afternoon gambit is not going to work. We're going to continue to ask questions.
What are you talking? I swear to God, you would think MAGA would say, yeah, we got the result we were seeking from those whistleblowers. We now have a special counsel. He's now been given special counsel status. There's no plea agreement between the prosecution and Hunter Biden, and now Hunter Biden gets to be examined even further for another 5 years. Well, not really, because statute of limitations is running, and 5 years is just about it for the Foreign, Lobbying Act, the FARA Act, right? Which is what they were dangling, that, they needed to investigate. And it can't be financial. It can't be. Why? Because that's already been investigated. And we know that because the plea deal included tax crime. It was a misdemeanor because he did pay his taxes. He paid $2 million in taxes, just not timely enough for MAGA. I don't know. So that's where we are. Does anybody give a damn? Does anybody care? Okay, so the only reason why anybody should care is because Hunter Biden is going to be examined again for another, period of time on Fox News. Okay? But just know this. Nothing that if Hunter is found innocent, that will piss them off, and if he's found guilty, that will piss them off. There is no appeasing the terrorists. There just isn't.
Connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
New at noon, Attorney General Merrick Garland announced less than an hour ago he is appointing a special counsel in the Hunter Biden probe, deepening the investigation of the president's son ahead of the 2024 election. Garland said he is naming David Dweez as the special counsel. Dweez is the U.S. attorney in Delaware who has been probing the financial and business dealings of the president's son. Miss Fayetteville, everybody, Miss Fayetteville. They should be asking her, how would you, solve for world peace? David Dweez. You would think that would calm MAGA. You do. You think that would be the perfect little salve on a Friday afternoon to calm their jittery nerves about Hunter Biden might just somehow never, ever, ever go to jail for the crimes he's committed, and he's part of the Biden crime family. You would think that this would be the perfect equalizer. This would be, something that they would celebrate in a victorious, hurrah, huzzah, woohoo, okay.
Nope, I'm not happy, Randi. I tried to be helpful. I'm out again. I'm out.
I mean, Nothing is going to calm them ever. Okay, if Hunter Biden, obviously there is no there. Okay, but the right wing wants another bite at Hunter, and today they got it. Today they get to nibble on him, which is just disgusting. If you've seen what I've seen about him and of him, I've seen much too much of that kid. Much too much. I don't need to see any more of him. Okay, just don't. But obviously, this investigation has gone on for 5 years. 5 years. Now, if you're me, you're saying, after a 5-year investigation, there was never a request for a special counsel. They never saw a crime that they felt that they needed to charge in another jurisdiction, not Delaware. Okay, they never did anything except offer a plea deal after 5 years of deep dive into this kid's, crack-addicted life, right? Obviously, there's no money laundering. There's no there because they did bring a tax charge. They did, right? The gun charge is kind of iffy. Right? It's iffy if you're a Republican because there should be no gun laws. I don't know. But, okay. They got their special counsel today, and you would think, oh, my God. No, you know why they're upset? Because now Congress, Jim Jordan and Comer got their wet dream. They got their wish. So you know what that means? That means they can't call Hunter Biden. They can't subpoena him. And they can't subpoena any more witnesses who might testify for or against Hunter Biden because it would screw up the investigation that the special counsel is now involved in 2 states, if that's where he needed jurisdiction. It would be D.C., which is not a state, I keep saying that, and California, right? But now they're all pissed. Now they're all peeved. Now they think it's all a big plot. It was all a big scheme to deny James Comer of Kentucky the ability to get on TV and constantly accuse Hunter Biden of being part of a crime family, even though there has never been any evidence that links Hunter's activities to Joe receiving a benefit from Hunter's activities. It doesn't exist. There is no there. And trust me, they've looked at all Hunter Biden's financials. If they didn't, they wouldn't have been able to bring a tax charge now, would they? Right. But no matter what you do for these people, they just want to keep terrorizing others. That's it. That's all they need to do. Stay in the rage machine, stay on the hamster wheel. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, it's unbelievable to me. Nothing ever is going to placate them. So could we please stop trying? Could we please stop making that the goal? Listen, yesterday we went over, an amazing bunch of stats and information and dollar amounts and investments and the state of our economy, which is experiencing something I like to call the Biden boom. Okay? And Biden is literally going to the rescue of places that Donald Trump said he dug. Remember Donald Trump? Coal miners, get ready to work your asses off. Remember that? That never happened. There are less than 40,000 coal miners left in this here country. 7 years ago, Donald Trump promised you would see, coal miners go back to work. He dug coal. It never happened. They just got sicker and sicker because they have to dig deeper and deeper and inhale more silica. Silicovolcanoconiosis. It's a lung disease. It's pneumo-ultra microscopic silicovolcanoconiosis is what it is. Mesothelioma, asbestos, silica. It all causes the same damn crap, black lung disease, right? And, Donald Trump didn't do jack crap for that. In fact, Mr. Murray from the Murray Mining Company didn't want to see any regulation for people who suffered with black lung disease, right? He didn't want to see any regulation on coal mines. He didn't want to see any clean air, be filtered in or be a requisite to go. No. And nothing happened good. Nothing happened good. Here's Joe Biden saying, you know what? We're going to build nice, clean factories that pay $130,000. Good paying jobs, no college degree needed. You will actually be employable and employed happily in these new manufacturing plants that we have to build. So there's construction jobs on the front end. And then on the back end, there are steady jobs inside. A nice, clean, like super clean semiconductor factory or a nice, clean EV building cars. The car business employs over 1 million Americans, just for comparison, right? Coal, 40,000, which is a better deal for, working people. building a car or going deep and getting black. You know what I'm saying? So it was all garbage. It was all and you would think that they would now say, we now see the light. We understand that, look, they've gotten us all angry and all enraged and all outraged and blah, blah, blah. But Joe Biden's actually bringing jobs. He's actually creating a new future for Appalachia. He's creating a new future for Ohio. He's creating a new future for Pennsylvania. He really does give a damn about, West Virginia. He really does. He gives a damn. He's building stuff, okay? He's going to improve the infrastructure so that we have a means to transport what we're manufacturing in this brand new manufacturing plant that we built. $30 an hour, we laugh. We thought that was a great job. Yeah, now it's going to be like, more than $100,000 a year, okay? With lunch breaks and vacation and benefits like health ones and stuff, right? And still, and I know, just from this particular news day, just this one little day, and I know now that they will continue to vote for Donald Trump. Joe Biden is literally in there giving them an economic future that they would never, ever have with the Republican Party. And we know that because 7 years ago, Donald Trump said he was going to give them an economic future that he failed to ever give. He failed to do anything that would encourage. He failed to do anything that would invest in. He failed to do anything that built. He failed to do anything that manufactured. Nothing. Okay, nothing. Here's Joe Biden, like 2 years in, and already showing you, we got to build blades for the wind turbines. We got to build the towers. We got to build EV factories. We got to build charging stations. We got to build semiconductors. We have to have chips. We can't rely on our over there supply chain anymore. We got to bring everything here and make it here, export it there. That's Biden's restructure. And they'll still vote for Trump.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show.
It is.
To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
All right. So Judge Chutkan weighed in today on the protective order issue, and her decision was pretty, split the baby. This is what judges do, okay? They're very Solomon-like. You ask for this, the other side asks for that, and they meet you somewhere in the middle. It's always split the baby down the middle. This case was about, this hearing was about a protection order. And, of course, Trump's lawyers, they asserted that they were just too busy. They were just too busy to Zoom in, or they were too busy to actually appear before her. They were just so busy. And she said, be here at 10 o'clock Friday morning. Bye. Thanks. And they were there. And they presented their best case to not have an order of protection over witness testimony and over documents and over text messages and over, recordings, and that Donald Trump should just willy-nilly be able to handle anything he wants and do whatever he wants with it. And then on the other side, they were like, this guy is going to be witness tampering. He's already done it. He's threatening you, Your Honor. He's saying, that you can't give him a fair trial because you're in the tank or whatever. He's saying that if you come after him, he'll come after you, in all caps. You know what I'm saying? This guy obviously has shown you who he is and what his level of integrity is. This had nothing to do with free speech. It had to do with the fallout from him speaking freely. It wasn't to try and get him to stop speaking freely. It was to show you that when he speaks freely, he shows you who he is. Believe him. If you give him sensitive information, he will use it to try this case with the Maga crowd on Truth Social and whatever, media will have him anymore. And he will accuse everybody except himself of wrongdoing. So she split the baby. And she said, look, here's the thing. Sensitive materials, things that, really need to be protected will be protected. Things that, don't need to be protected, you can let him see it. You can let him have it. That's it. Why did that have to be litigated? I just don't even. Why couldn't Donald Trump just agree that that was the way it should be? Why couldn't John Lauro or the other guy who's supposed to be, Florida's former Solicitor General, meaning he's the guy, Kais is his name. He's the guy that argued on my behalf in front of the Florida State Supreme Court issues of great constitutional importance in my state under our state constitution. He's now representing Donald Trump, this dude, okay? And the federal judge said to him, listen, the defense doesn't have to be locked down off of, getting any materials at all. That's just ridiculous. We wouldn't do that. Donald Trump can see stuff. Donald Trump can hear stuff. He can, whatever. He's got a right to defend himself. And these materials, and the reason why we had this discussion in the first place is because Jack Smith and his team want to try this case. They're ready to try this case, and they need to turn over all materials that Donald Trump needs to have in order to defend himself. It's called discovery. We all know this. We've been through an enormous amount of trials. For those who may never have been through a trial before, a federal trial especially, it's called discovery, and the prosecution has to turn over to your defense things that, your defense would need to know so that they can defend against them, or they can test the veracity, the truth of what's being charged, right? And so that has to happen. And Jack Smith wants to give them all this information already because he's told us when he wants to have this trial. He's ready, as you know. All he needs to do is turn over documents and tapes and evidence to the defense so that they can prepare their case. Now, just remember this, okay? Donald Trump has always been represented. Always. He was represented on January 6th, right? He chose to listen to John Eastman, who he said of all the attorney's advice that he got, he wanted to rely on his. He wanted to rely on that guy. He didn't want to rely on the Whitehouse counsel. He didn't want to rely on Cipollone. He didn't want to rely on Eric Hirschman. He didn't want to rely on, Jacobs, who was Pence's counsel. He didn't want to rely on anybody in DOJ, not even Bill Barr. Okay, he didn't want to rely on any of their conclusions that every case that they had brought across 7 swing states had failed, that 60 different cases were brought, and in 60 different cases there was no wrongdoing that was ever found. The election was free of any determinative fraud, nothing that would change the result of the election. We had 4 people in Georgia that shouldn't have voted, and that he was lying, and he knew he was lying, and he was always represented, always. He was represented by the best and the brightest, but he chose to rely on John Eastman. Okay. And then once January 6th happened, while it was going on, Donald Trump refused to do anything to stop it. Remember that. That's a good detail, okay? That he did absolutely nothing, and that when he was finally convinced to say something, and he put out that tweet of himself, he videoed himself and put that, he gave aid and comfort to the insurrectionists. He told them, we love you. That's aid and comfort. Just go home. We love you. Right? So he's always been represented. He's always had the benefit of the Department of Justice. He's always had the White House counsel. He's always had his own counsel. He had Giuliani. He had Sidney Powell. I mean, these are the people that he decided he was going to. But the idea that Jack Smith is saying, the defense is saying, we can't have a trial right away. We can't. And Jack Smith is like, why? Well, you've had 3.5 years to look into this, which is just wrong. Because January 6th happened in 2021. It's 2023 now. That's only 2 years ago, okay? And that's a long-ass time anyway for a guy who's always been represented. But they're saying, you've had we need 3.5 years. And, this judge, Chuckin, she's not going to put up with this swill. She's a hurry up and let's get this done thing. The public, the right to a speedy trial, that's a right that's guaranteed to us. That's a right that's guaranteed to the public. So that people that need to stand trial, need to face the bar of justice, need to, we need to know whether or not they are criminals or whether or not they aren't. We need to know because we don't want them to commit more crime. And we have a right to a speedy trial. That's our right in the 6th Amendment of the Constitution, right? Anyway, Jack Smith said, I would like to bring this trial. I would like to go through jury selection and start it on January 2nd. Now, that doesn't sound like a right away to most people, right? January. But think about it. That's only 4 months from now. I mean, I like almost want to start Christmas shopping when I actually sat there and went August, September, October, November, December, and then January 2nd. I should start Christmas. It didn't even occur to me because it's so freaking hot. Right? That Christmas is just a few months away. I mean, CVS and, all the Walgreens will remind you real soon. Like in 2 weeks, you'll start to see candy corn if you haven't already. And then before the candy corn sold out, you'll start to see, Christmas ornaments. But he's ready to go. And the Trump team wants it delayed. They want to stop. They want to delay. And so this little hearing today was a way to delay by putting up a stink about what should be protected, what information in an insurrection case. Well, it's not actually an insurrection case because they didn't charge him with insurrection. But what information that the government has that would show that Donald Trump deprived us of our right to have our election counted fairly after we went to all the trouble of casting ballots in all 50 states when there was no fraud, and all the information that they have about what states did to encourage, entice, cover up fake electors, and whether or not they knew that they were not the duly selected electors, but they said they were anyway in violation of perjury charges, that they signed, and said, you are saying this is true with the penalty of perjury hanging over your head. And they said, yes, we're doing that. So, why? Because they wanted to delay. And what we found out today is that this particular judge that is in charge of this January 6th D.C. Case, she's not playing. She's not playing. They first tried to delay by saying, we can't be there on Friday. We're very busy. We're so busy. We're too busy. She goes, you'll be here on Friday. You'll be here at 10 o'clock in the morning on Friday. That's when you'll be here. They were there. Then they said, well, you can't have the prosecution turning over all these documents to us just yet. We have to get the rules about what Donald Trump can see and what he can walk away with and what he can handle, what he can finger and what he can touch and what he can, And she said, fine, I have no problem. Let me, okay, well, you take time to think about it. She's like, no, I'll give you my answer right now. You can have my answer right now. And I would appreciate it if you would personally put up the fee for the license. You can have my answer right now, Senator. So she's not messing around. She's a speedy trial person. She's going to do everything she can without taking too much time, and it's going to happen.
Mary had a little lamb.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
The most complete accounting yet of the high life of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas shows much, much more than previously known. More private jets, more fancy vacations, more sporting events, all gifts from mega-rich businessmen and documented through public and private records, plus interviews by ProPublica.
Justice Thomas has been living a life of extreme luxury for 30 years, underwritten by at least 4 different ultra-wealthy benefactors.
Earlier reports have revealed lavish gifts to Thomas, including a house for his mother and this 9-day vacation in Indonesia from conservative billionaire Harlan Crow.
I've come from regular stock.
Who also underwrote a film about Thomas's humble taste.
I prefer the RV parks.
Now the list of benefactors includes 3 more names, according to ProPublica: David Sokol, Wayne Huizinga, and Tony Novelli. The report says the 4 moguls collectively treated Thomas to 38 destination vacations, including a previously unreported voyage on a yacht around the Bahamas, 26 private jet flights, plus an additional 8 by helicopter, a dozen VIP passes to professional and college sporting events, 2 stays at luxury resorts in Florida and Jamaica, and 1 standing invitation to an uber-exclusive golf club. The dollar value likely in the millions, little of which appeared in required financial disclosures, according to ProPublica. Thomas has previously said he didn't feel the need to disclose some gifts, and that worries Jeremy Fogel, an expert on judicial ethics and a former judge.
I simply couldn't have done this, and even if the people involved didn't have interest before the court, it's just the idea that you are receiving gifts of this magnitude.
Associate justices make about $285,000 a year. In 2001, when they made about $100,000 less, Thomas spoke up.
The job is not worth doing for what they pay. It's not worth doing for the grief, but it is worth doing for the principle.
Now he bristles at questions about his principles. He calls Crow merely a friend. Crow says they never talk about Thomas's work, and the new report found none of these wealthy pals seem to have had cases before the court. Still,
each one of these new benefactors, just like Harlan Crow, came into his life after he was appointed to the Supreme Court. That's why it's so problematic from an ethics standpoint.
It's so dirty. They're so filthy. Everybody's worried about Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden, the Biden crime family. Yeah, they're really living large, aren't they? They're just, that little, 1970s house that Joe Biden has where he goes on the public beach and hangs out there with, all the passersby, and everybody makes fun of the fact that he's a pretty fit 80-year-old dude while they're elevating Donald Trump as a better, fitter, nimbler, more able person. It's just, anyway. But yeah, Clarence is as dirty as the day is long. It's time to actually do something about him. And the thing that we want to do about him is to legislate an ethics code that he has to live by. And he hasn't lived by any ethics code. He has no principles. He has no integrity. And until and unless we actually mandate that he live by the same kind of code that House members, that senators, that other courts, district courts, municipal courts, magistrates who are really administrative clerks, appeals court justices, they all have a code of ethics that they have to actually live under so that we don't have even the appearance of corruption in this here country. And here you have the Supreme Court. And this is what's really important. And I think maybe today you can see how this really is the truth. Whatever happens to Hunter Biden in courts across this nation, like whether or not he gets to go to a diversion program because he lied on a gun application, or whether or not he, didn't pay his taxes on time and that deserves, some fine that's over and above what he's already faced because he was late paying his taxes, that isn't going to put a nickel in your pocket. That's not going to help you, make medical decisions in private about your own self. That's not going to influence whether or not you raise a family over here or over there or not at all. That's not going to influence whether your children are taught religion in school or they're not taught religion in school. And it's certainly not going to have anything to do with you being able to practice or not practice any religion. It has absolutely no influence on your life, whatever happens to Hunter Biden. Okay, the next most illustrative case that we have today that might impact your life is whether or not Donald Trump ever faces the bar of justice, meaning is he ever held to account for defrauding us out of the ability, or trying to defraud us out of having our free and fair election, my vote, counted fairly? Will he ever pay a price for trying to defraud the United States, for trying to defraud us, the voters in the United States? Will he ever pay any sort of penalty for trying to stop an official proceeding of Congress, the certification of the election, right? So that has some impact on our lives, meaning it will decide whether or not he can even be a presidential candidate. Oh, yeah. It will. It will decide whether or not he's eligible to be president, because we all know Section 3 of the 14th Amendment says that you can't have given aid and comfort to anybody that tried to overthrow the election, which clearly he did on tape. And you certainly cannot have engaged in an insurrection. Okay, and if this case actually comes back with guilty verdicts that he tried to obstruct the certification of the election, well, he's ineligible to be president.
God, that feels like the prize, Randy. I don't need the jail as much. I don't need him to be a martyr. I need his power to be neutered, and that might actually curb some of this MAGA cult sickness.
So that's a case that might have some impact on your life, okay? But every single case that the Supreme Court takes, that Clarence Thomas sits and decides, has everything to do with your life. In fact, that court, the Supreme Court, the one with no ethics, the one with no rules of the road, the one that has absolutely no standards or principles, that is the court that has the biggest, most obvious impact on the way you live your life. It will decide whether or not there's gun regulations at all. It will decide if people can have Uzis. It will decide if people can have shoulder-fired, missiles. If they can have bazookas. It will decide whether or not you have privacy rights, whether or not you can have a private conversation with your doctor on difficult subjects, like your gender identity, or for, to have a family or not have a family. Or do you have to actually go and prove that you were raped in this country before you can get health care to end a pregnancy? And how long would that take? You know what I'm saying? I mean, Chutkin, this is considered speedy, and it'll happen in 4 months, maybe. So how fast can that happen that you could prove that somebody raped you in this country? Do you know what I'm saying? But the Supreme Court is the most influential court when it comes to your life, when it comes to the way you live your life, when it comes to what is, permissible in our states, in our society, in our country, whether we have the right to vote, okay? Whether states can continue to draw gerrymandered maps, whether they can continue to have lines that racially divide us on maps, whether they can redline people out of getting, loans from banks, whether that's, Jim Crow makes a comeback. That court, and that is the court that has no ethics requirements, no rules.
All things Randy at RandyRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
The Supreme Court internally definitely has ethical rules they're voluntarily adhered to. And at the same time, they can be quite broad and also quite vague. Even if something isn't unlawful or violating an ethical code, that in fact, there is something unseemly, gross maybe even, about flying around on private jets with billionaires.
ABC News has not independently verified ProPublica's latest claims, and the Supreme Court hasn't responded to requests for comment. After ProPublica revealed in April that Thomas failed to disclose high-end vacations and private jet travel paid for by billionaire Republican donor Harlan Crow, the conservative justice said it was his understanding he wasn't required to report this sort of personal hospitality from close personal friends.
What you hear from folks on the left is that maybe he hasn't violated the letter of these regulations, but he is certainly bringing disrepute on the Supreme Court.
Other members of the court are also under scrutiny. Justice Samuel Alito defended himself after he didn't report a luxury trip to Alaska and a private jet flight. And Justice Sonia Sotomayor reportedly used taxpayer-funded staff at the Supreme Court to help sell her books.
Okay.
They are the most powerful judges in America, and yet they are not required to follow even the most basic ethical standards.
Senate Democrats are pushing to pass a law that would require Supreme Court justices to adopt a binding code of ethics, but it faces an uphill battle in a divided Congress. All 9 justices have suggested that they oppose that move.
Okay, so check that out. The same House of Representatives, the same Senate, the same body of legislators that want to hold Hunter Biden accountable for paying his taxes late and perhaps lying on a federal application for a gun that he actually owned for 11 days because he's part of a crime family. Okay, they don't want any ethics rules to be leveled on the United States Supreme Court. They want the United States Supreme Court to be a crime family. I mean, you can't hold these two ideas in your head at the same time. Your head will explode because they defile each other, okay? It is so unbearable to listen to that fraud, that shrill, shrieking fraud that comes out of Jim Jordan, that comes out of, James Comer, Lindsey Graham, who's going to break down in tears any minute now because, his boyfriend, Donald Trump, is being attacked or whatever. It is just so amazing to me that they refuse to come up with a basic code of ethics for the United States Supreme Court. And you know why that is, right? Because the same donors that give them money are now allowed to give the Supreme Court money. And the Republicans feel like they can rule by minority rule better if the 7-2 Republican Supreme Court is on the take. That's it. It's not complicated. They want them to be totally bought, totally paid for. They want to know what the outcome of every single contretemps of every single, problem in this country. Every time two courts disagree with each other, they want to know what the result's going to be. And they know what the result's going to be because they know who's paying the Supreme Court to rule this way. They know the Federal Society. They know Leonard Leo. They know Donors Trust. They know that Harlan Crow. They know that, this guy, Tony over here. His name's Tony. Oh, no, sorry, Paulie. His name's Paulie. Paulie Novelli. Yeah. Wayne Huizenga. Everyone here in Florida knows who Wayne Huizenga is because Wayne Huizenga was, first of all, he owned a whole bunch of our, he owned the Dolphins. He owned, just about everything, including our garbage. Okay? He owned our garbage. And every single decision that the Supreme Court would make about taxes, loopholes, regulation, ownership, antitrust, all that crap, all that stuff affects these freaking billionaires. These billionaires, they all have a stake in the game when it comes to Supreme Court decisions about who can buy a legislator, how many can you buy? Can you buy a senator and a congressman? Yes, and throw in a Supreme Court justice too now. Really? When did that happen? Citizens United, 2012. Oh, okay. And can I control regulation on my industry by doing that? Yes, you can. Can an ordinary Joe have the same amount of, time and attention if they don't give money? No. Okay, good. This works for me. Clarence, get on my yacht. Get on my yacht and we'll go around the world together. Hey, Clarence, come to my ranch in Wyoming on my private plane. Hey, Clarence, I heard you adopted, like your nephew. Well, you don't have to pay for his tuition. I will. Is that hospitality too? Oh, don't worry about your mom's house. I'll buy that. Come over to my house. I'll show you my Nazi memorabilia. It'll be fun. 38 destination vacation. The guy is living the life of a multi-millionaire. Clarence Thomas is actually living the life of a multi-millionaire, if not a billionaire. And he makes less than $300,000 a year, which is a nice salary. But he could no more afford these vacations if he made $1 million a year. He still couldn't afford private yacht vacations, okay? To rent a private yacht. You ever see Below Deck? You ever see that show?
It is one of my guiltiest of guilty pleasures.
Howard, too. Howard is
I tried to stop.
He's a Bravo freak. Every time I come home, every time. You, too. All that's on the TV is Below Deck. I mean, like the captain's check. Wasn't it a woman? Yeah, but this is a new season. What, you finished the other one? Yeah. How many are in it? I don't know. Anyway, those yacht rentals that they do, what is it, like 4 or 5 days or something like that on Below Deck? What, how much? How much? $20,000, $30,000, $40,000?
That might be the tip. Like, it's crazy.
Right, and it's not the most gigantic yacht. They're nice size yachts, right? They're good yachts, but I don't sniff at those yachts. I've seen Below Deck, and but you get a chef and you get a couple of stews. You get your beds made, you get your laundry done. $20,000 for like what, 4 days? This man is on yacht cruises, 26 private jet trips. Okay, each one of those is like $150,000 just the jet fuel alone, let alone the crew. Okay? I mean, it's so even if you were making $1 million a year, you still couldn't afford to live the way Clarence Thomas is living, and he makes less than $300,000 a year. Okay, something is so wrong with this, and they're saying, "Oh no, we all want to do it with Clarence. We all want Clarence on our vacation because he's so much fun." What? You paid for his nephew to go to a private school because Clarence is so much fun. You paid for his mother's house because Clarence is such a great guy. You paid for 26 private jet trips because Clarence is just a barrel of laughs. You paid for private yacht tours through Europe and Indonesia because he's just, a laugh riot? Really? That's what you're telling me is the reason behind you and Wayne Huizenga? Wayne Huizenga owned this. He owned this real exclusive golf club. He's since sold it. He sold it before they refurbished it. And now it's like $150,000 a year. Like as an opening, almost like tuition. You know what I mean? It's like that's you have to do $150,000, and then year after year after year after year, you have to pay to be a member. Clarence free. It's all free. Everything was free. Come on in. Don't worry about it. Trump couldn't even get in that golf club, okay? They turned him down.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Oh, Sheldon, help us.
Senator Whitehouse, you promised us it would get worse. It has gotten worse. How, does it feel good to be right about these predictions?
No, I wish it did. And I wish I felt this was the bottom of it. I think it's going to continue to get still worse. There's more to disclose about Clarence Thomas. This coming week, Justice Thomas and Justice Alito run out the clock on the extensions for their disclosures. So they have to make those disclosures next week, and there's a 30-day window in which they become public. So we'll find out a lot more from them about their own disclosures, and people will be picking at what they've disclosed and what the press has found out to make sure that they're telling the truth. We may find out new things from their own disclosures as they fear that those things will become exposed in later investigative efforts. And then we're only really beginning to understand how very improper Justice Alito's interview in the Wall Street Journal was. Right. That was deeply improper. And that's going to come out more. So the other Supreme Court justices and the judges on the Judicial Conference need to understand that this is not going away. It's going to continue to get worse because the behavior is inexcusable of their colleagues.
I mean, the Judicial Conference is the body that actually is supposed to oversee the Supreme Court, and the head of the Judicial Conference is the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, okay? It's Joan Roberts, who obviously is not going to do jack crap about any of this because this has been going on for 30 stinking years now. I mean, this is older than, the crack in grandma's ass, this grift that's been going on at the Supreme Court, at least with regard to Clarence Thomas, at least with regard to him. It is just so violent. It's so unacceptable. It is gross. It is unseemly. It is actually a wrong. And they don't have any, there's no enforcement. There's nothing. The other people who are on the Judicial Conference are other judges. Now, the other judges that serve in appeals court, chairs, district court judges, whatever, they live with a code of ethics. They live with certain conduct that they cannot violate. There's enforcement for their bad behavior, and they got to be livid. I will tell you this, though, if there's any soothing salve in this little piece of news, that this court, this Joan Roberts court, is going to go down as one of the worst Chief Justices. He'll be one of the worst Chief Justices in the history of the Supreme Court. This whole period of time with him as the Chief Justice on the Supreme Court will have produced some of the worst decisions, violated, like long-standing precedents that everybody, was used to for 50 some odd years. Okay, things that were expanding rights for people, allowing people to fall in love with whoever they wanted to fall in love with, marry whoever they wanted to, raise families peacefully. Obviously, there's been no no, downside to it. None of us have been harmed by the gay couple next door. None of us have been harmed by, gay children. None of us have been hurt by, a woman over there saying, we have 4 kids. I really can't have another. I just can't do it. I can't have it. I'm sorry, honey. You agree? Yeah, I agree. I'll drive you. You know what I mean? That hasn't picked anybody's pocket. That hasn't hurt anybody. Hasn't corrupted anybody. Hasn't coarsened our culture. No, Donald Trump coarsened our culture. Lying coarsens our culture. Conspiracy theories coarsen our culture. And dirty Supreme Court justices make us distrustful of our own institutions and literally have such an impact on democracy itself. Dirty presidents that incite people to violence against their own country. That coarsens our culture. Beating police officers with Blue Lives Matter flags. That is just so hard to hold in your head at the same time. That the fraud of that. The absolute disgusting fraud of that. It's so combative in your head to hold those thoughts in one little brain. I can't do it. The rage machine is just, it's eating away at our body politic. It's eating away at our body brain. I mean, it's so unacceptable. And now you find out that the Supreme Court is in on the gag, that they're playing along, that they've been dirty longer than, we had Donald Trump. I thought, for those of you who thought he was going to drain the swamp, can you just see now that he is a creature created by the swamp, and he likes the swamp because without the swamp, he could never be who he is? Don't you know that the whole mob way of doing things was protected by these, conservative justices and has been all along? And Donald likes it like that. And that's why he picked 3 more just like them. 3 that would lie under oath about precedent on precedent. 3 that would tell that they would literally swear the oath and then testify falsely in front of you and the whole world. And that when one of them was shown to be credibly accused of sexual assault, he was defended by the head swamp beneficiary. So, this whole idea that the guy was able to sell you on draining the swamp and that I really want to drain the swamp. Those ideas, the people who want to drain the swamp believe he's going to do it. They can't accept that it needs to be drained and that people like me have been working to drain it. They can't do it. It's like, it goes back to the original story today about how in West Virginia, Joe Biden is literally giving them an economic future that has been promised to them over and over and over again by Republican presidents, one after the other, after the other, after the other. Drill, baby, drill. And we dig coal. And it's going to be great. And just elect us. And we'll protect those coal jobs. They'll say stupid things like there is such a thing as clean coal, just to get their vote, and do absolutely nothing. Nothing to improve the infrastructure there, nothing to improve the opportunity there, nothing to create a future there, economic future, nothing at all, except cut their food stamps, okay? Cut their ability to survive under their economic structure of things. Then you get a guy who's willing to restructure things, who's willing to actually grow this economy from the bottom up, middle out, like FDR did, to sort of electrify the Tennessee Valley, if you will, right? That's what this infrastructure deal, that's what this CHIPS and Science Act, that's what this Inflation Reduction Act will do for rural areas. And yet they'll still vote for Donald Trump. So here we are building better economic futures. Here we are actually trying to drain the swamp by exposing the crooked, corrupt nature, the unseemly behavior of the swamp creatures, and we're the bad guys. For the life of me, you got to sort of tip your hat to the rage monsters, to the rage machine, because they're really good at exploiting the rage that exists in the bad structure of our economy that they built, that they double down on over and over again, right in front of their faces. Let's give tax cuts to the wealthiest Americans. Let's put, coal barons on, the mining, safety board so that they have absolutely no protection from, black lung disease. Let's do that in front of their faces, and they'll still vote for us because we keep them angry.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show.
It is.
To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
All righty, 48 minutes after on a freaking Friday, you bastards. Here's Brother David.
It's a freaking frackin' fingering felonious fraudsters Friday, sister.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Before we go any further, this is the first day I've had unlimited phone access in a week and a half, so that's why I didn't call you last week.
I worry about you when you're not on my board there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's been spotty, and when I've had the phone, I've either been talking to friends in Maui to make sure they're okay, fielding calls from my former days as a Hollywood journalist over William Friedkin, rest in peace, rise in power. Getting calls from people I haven't talked to since college over Robbie Robertson.
Not that William Friedkin, not The Exorcist, dude. That guy. Oh.
On Monday, yeah. And Robbie Robertson.
Yeah.
I'm a great big Last Waltz boy.
I got a lot of text messages and videos from a lot of my 70s friends, from back in the day, and I was like, never really a big band fan. Okay, but yeah.
Now, here's the thing. You and I both know, as Al Jolson said in The Jazz Singer, I think I said this once on the chat room when I was able to be there. Hi, chat room. We ain't seen nothing yet in terms of indictments. But these indictments are key. And I am loving this judge more than any judge I've loved since Judge Judy. and Jack Smith is my spirit animal, and I'm a quarter Cherokee, so I can say that.
Oh, wow.
This may be, and I'm with Brett. I don't care whether it goes to jail or not. I want it neutered. I want it nullified.
So it has a big effect on our lives, but not as big an effect on our lives as the SCOTUS does, as that.
Well, as Uncle Thomas and the rest of the extreme court. Yes.
And I just want people to open up their freaking eyes and understand what they are completely, surrendering to. They're surrendering to the most corrupt, disgusting, fraudulent people that have ever come down the pike, and they're all in a club to protect each other. Okay, the way that they protect themselves from you is they get you angry. They keep you on the hamster wheel of rage.
The rage machine, as you said. You bet.
Right.
You bet.
But next week, you know what next week is? Next week, you're going to probably see a RICO indictment. I mean, next week, this is going to be, the one that I've been waiting for.
The Al Capone time.
Yes, Al Capone time. You know what was so interesting today? I was reading the case law, because that is what I do for you. I was reading the case law. Ask Brett about the right to a speedy trial. I was reading, the interpretation of the Sixth Amendment in various, cases. Right. And so I was reading this one opinion about how the public has the right to a speedy trial, not so much the defendant, and that at times the defendant will be, disfavored in a court decision to have a speedy trial, but so be it. And when I got down to the bottom and I saw which case I was reading, it was U.S. versus Al Capone.
And there you go.
Oh, no, it was U.S. versus Gambino. That's what it was.
Which is the sidebar that led over to Al Capone. You bet.
Yeah. U.S. versus Gambino crime family, 1995. I mean, honestly, this is where we're at, and so I think next week. And the beauty about what Fonnie Willis might bring, not just that it's going to have like 12 different defendants, not that it's just going to be the whole corrupt organization exposed for your enjoyment, but that it's a state case, so that even if he is pardoned by the next president, or he is the next president, God forbid, okay, I have to spit on that one.
You know it.
He can't, and they can't relieve him of the state charges. They can't.
That's right.
Right. And so that's why that's an important.
And they will be felonious, and that follow all the way.
Right.
There are still more of us, sister.
Right.
And gorgeous girdles for everyone, not just the 1%.
Thank you. So yeah, that's like kind of where we're at for next week, and it will be literally stunning. Okay, truly stunning.
And I just have to mention again, when we talk about a RICO case involving Donald Trump and the possibility that Rudy Giuliani, the father of the RICO case, could possibly be caught up in it. It just, the karma is
that
so
bromance
mind-boggling.
is one for the ages, man. I mean, and
Isn't it crazy?
The way that I hear it, okay, is that Donald Trump worships Rudy, not the other way around.
They're just circling the drain of degradation and insanity hand in hand.
Because Rudy apparently was so crushed and so emotionally damaged after he lost in 2008 when he believed that he was the rightful next president of the United States after his glorious leadership in downtown New York City, where he decided to put the emergency response center in the World Trade Center. Yeah, great decision-making skills Rudy's always had. But then when he was rejected by this country in 2008, apparently he felt so dejected and so underappreciated. And remember, he kept trying to start these law firms, Bracewell Giuliani and Giuliani and Partner, and nobody was buying it. Nobody. And then Donald Trump, actually worshipped him and, brought him into the fray to tell him how the mob, works. To actually, do the ins and outs, to be his Roy Cohn, his mob lawyer. And, one day you're a prosecutor, next day you're a defense attorney. That happens. And that's what happened. But next week should be fun. All right, Jason in Simi Valley.
Good afternoon, Randy.
Thank you for holding.
All right, here 3 points, just quick.
Mm-hmm.
I heard 2 of these on Stephanie Miller's show, so I will give that source. One is that the law that he was charged with for the gun
Hunter? Yeah.
Yeah, Hunter was actually overturned by the Fifth Circuit recently.
Oh no! The Fifth just to be exactly right. Okay, the Fifth Circuit Court said that if you were a drug user, meaning in your past,
right,
then the government couldn't bar you from having a weapon now that you're sober. And Hunter was a active drug addict, so that one still has to be litigated. Just that's my opinion.
No, I number 2. And this is just my own particular feeling. Fine, do your special prosecutor. Look at it, fine. I don't care what happens to him myself. And I don't think they're going to they're just trying to paint Joe with it, but a vast majority of his voters just don't give a shit. So forgive my...
No, you can't do that. Here, wait.
I already got it.
Oh, man. And I had it all timed out where we were going to do 3 calls in this last segment. Everybody that held on forever. And, now I can't because I had to fire off the delay machine, right? So let me just tell you this. So Hunter Biden's, little special prosecutor is going to end up just like Durham, just like that. It'll go on and on and on and on. First of all, David Weiss, or if you're from Arkansas, Mr. Dweez. Mr. Dweez. He is the U.S. Attorney in Delaware. He is now the special prosecutor, okay? This is the same guy that has already investigated Hunter Biden for 5 freaking years. This is the special prosecutor. This is the new special prosecutor that Merrick Garland just gave the ability to charge Hunter in any jurisdiction, not just in Delaware, but anywhere in the United States, anywhere at all, where Hunter Biden committed any crime at all ever that Mr. Dweez can actually prove, Dweez gets to charge him. Okay? So let's see if that produces any charges.
I feel like pronouncing a Jewish gentleman's name correctly on TV as a news reporter could put the kibosh on your career.
She's in Fayetteville, Arkansas.
What did I say? Alabama, yeah, Arkansas, that's right.
No, you said that you would think that being a broadcaster, she's in Fayetteville, Arkansas, okay?
Oh, I see. Her career's already kiboshed?
No, I'm just saying it's not a thing. Nobody caught it. Nobody knows. Nobody understands anything that's gone. They just know Hunter Biden. Turn on Fox. That's it. But anyway, whatever happens. 5 years he's been investigating this person, Hunter Biden. Now, you know why Joe Biden's, concerned about this, right? Do you know why? Well, first of all, he's his father. And Joe Biden is about as decent a man as you could ever imagine having as a father. That's number one. He loves his children. And then this whole thing about the 7th child that was conceived when Hunter was a crackhead with a girl that he had sex with that he doesn't even remember having sex with, but she had the baby. Joe Biden just said, that is my 7th grandchild. Oh, and they beat the crap out of him for that. What took him so long? What took him so long? You know, I mean, he was trying to respect his son's wishes because his son is his son. And I'll tell you why Joe Biden's upset. Not because Joe Biden did anything. And he couldn't care less about, you know, himself. He's worried that Hunter, who is a recovering crackhead, he is a recovering drug addict. And, you know, you would think that people all over this country would respect somebody trying to recover from drug addiction, which no one in this country is any stranger to. Happens in the best of families, as you can see. And you tell me next time, Junior tweets some unhinged rant that he's completely sober. No, but Joe Biden's worried about Hunter relapsing. That is his main concern here. And this investigation just continues on.